Hi friends, this is Brenda Moore, here to equip ministry leaders with philanthropy's best practices so that together we can help God's people know the joy of generosity. I hope you're listening in today because you got a gift on your mind, and maybe not just any gift. I hope a very special gift, perhaps even a once-in-a-lifetime gift, but nonetheless your best possible gift. Maybe you have a unique opportunity right now to do something truly significant for a ministry that you care deeply about. Maybe up until now, you've been looking at your income, at your available cash, and wondering, how am I going to be able to do what I really want to do with this? And maybe you wish you knew instead how you could make a gift from your other resources, your accumulated assets. This is exactly the kind of gift that I'd like to help you consider during the next few minutes of our time together as we look at making your best gift. We'll take a brief look at why your best gift could come from assets, and then what kinds of assets make good gifts now during life. And then finally, we'll look at a few examples of how others have used assets for ministry's benefit and for their personal benefit. First, let's look at the gifts we typically make from our income. Now, the church has long invited our tithes and offerings, and when God's people are in a house of worship, we remind them every time the plate comes by. Year after year, I see stewardship materials that invite us to go to this chart to find your annual household income, and then prayerfully move across the chart from 2% to 5% to 10%, to find the weekly amount that we will gratefully pledge from our income. And there's nothing wrong with this. I encourage it. I do it. But here's the reality. A typical American holds less than 10% of their wealth in cash or their regular income. And more than 90% of the average American's wealth is held in accumulated assets. So let's imagine that the coins in the small bucket represent our wealth in cash, and that the large bills in the big bucket represent our wealth in accumulated assets. The typical person has been taught to think only about giving from the small bucket. In fact, we've been asked to give our tithes and offerings from this small bucket. Most of us have never even considered a gift from the big bucket, and most of us don't even know that gifts from the big bucket could even be an option. Let's take a closer look at what's in the big bucket of our accumulated assets. And first of all, you probably think about your home, maybe a second home for some people. It could be other types of real estate like farmland or rental property, but otherwise the largest asset in your big bucket is likely to be your retirement funds, maybe some life insurance, perhaps some stock, various bank accounts. Now, most of our accumulated assets will help us meet our personal needs for hopefully many, many years to come, right? And then some of our assets will be gifts that we can pass on to our children one day to provide a safety net to them. Some of our assets would make wonderful legacy gifts for ministry one day when we don't need them anymore. But some of these assets also make wonderful gifts now. Well, we can know the joy of our generosity and what that will bring to these ministries that we care about. So I want to share 4 donor stories with you to illustrate how you could use stock and your IRA, certificates of deposit, and then real estate to make your very best gift possible. And the first story I want to share with you is about Bob and Mary. They happen to be in their late 50s with 2 young adult children who they've already put through college. They own stock that's now valued at $25,000, but when they inherited it a number of years ago, it was only worth $5,000. And if they sell the stock, they'll have to pay $3,000 in tax on the capital gain. But if they gift the stock, they will avoid that tax, and they will also qualify for a $6,000 charitable tax deduction. And after both tax benefits, this $25,000 gift to their church actually costs Bob and Mary only $16,000. What a great gift. Our next story is about Ron and Jean. They are in their early 70s. They've accumulated close to $1 million in a traditional IRA, And now they're at the age where they must start taking their required minimum distributions each year. They have other sources of retirement income, and they don't need the entirety of their RMD to support their lifestyle. So Ron and Jean, in this case, request a $25,000 qualified charitable distribution, a QCD, from their IRA and direct it to their church's capital campaign. And they avoid the payment of income tax on this portion of their withdrawal. So this $25,000 gift for Ron and Jean will actually cost them about $19,000. Now, by law, they could direct up to $100,000 from their fund in any one year. In fact, if they each have a fund, they each could direct up to $100,000 in any one year. Another really great gift. Some of you may have your retirement funds in a company-sponsored 401k, and if you've retired from that company, it's usually an easy thing to roll over that fund into a traditional IRA, so you can take advantage of this qualified charitable distribution. I really want to encourage you to explore this gift, another great gift. Here's Dorothy. She's 84 years old, and she sees this chance to make a large gift to her church as a real legacy opportunity for her. But she'd like to be able to avoid reducing her current income in order to make a gift. And like so many people her age, Dorothy keeps some of her savings in less risky certificates of deposit. In fact, she has a $50,000 CD maturing soon. And though she's never needed the principal, she likes the idea of having another guaranteed income source. If she renews the CD at the current 1% rate, she'll receive $500 of income each year. However, she could actually increase her income and satisfy her desire to make a larger gift to her church if she does these two things. First, she could use half of the $50,000, $25,000, to establish something called a charitable gift annuity that at her age pays a rate of 8.1%. And she would receive a fixed payment for life of $2,025 a year. That's 4 times the amount of income she was otherwise receiving from the CD. She can take a partial charitable income tax deduction for the gift and receive a portion of the annuity's income tax-free. And after death, her church would receive the annuity's remainder value. Then she could gift the other $25,000 today, and she's eligible for a charitable deduction. And again, with both scenarios combined, it cost Dorothy far less than $50,000 to make such a generous gift, and she has more current income, and she's able to make a wonderful gift today to her church and tomorrow after she doesn't need the income anymore, after she passes. And then finally, here's Dick and Evie, and they are also in their 80s. They've been retired from farming for about 15 years, and they've already sold the farmstead and moved into a retirement community in town. They've been leasing 160 acres of farmland for about a 3% return. And like many at that age, they've grown more and more weary of negotiating leases for this land. They depend on that income, but they've also heard that they could potentially increase their income with something called a charitable remainder trust. So Dick and Evie decide to transfer their farmland to their community foundation, and they arrange for 2 gifts. First, they decide to pass $120,000 directly onto their favorite ministries to make some special one-time gifts now. And then the remaining $1 million from the sale of the land funds a charitable remainder trust that will pay Dick and Evie a 5% income for the remainder of both lives. Now they've increased their annual income from the land from $32,000 to $50,000. And at the end of the second life, the remainder value of the trust funds, in their case, an endowment that will support their favorite ministries in perpetuity. And meanwhile, Dick and Evie avoid the heavy capital gains tax they would have paid had they sold their land. And they also have a large charitable deduction that they can use this year and also carry over for 5 additional years. And best of all, they have the joy of making the best possible gift they could have ever imagined. Another truly great gift. So there you have it, 4 ways to use your accumulated assets to make your best possible gift. 4 ways to know the joy of generosity now. What's next? I would suggest these 3 things. First of all, take a closer look at all 4 of these options, and there may be other ways to use some of your other assets that you own to make similar gifts. Second, do check with your financial advisor to be sure that your gift plan makes good sense for your financial plan as well. And particularly in light of the recent changes in the tax code, it's especially worth it to have your accountant take a look at this gift before you make it. And then finally, make the gift. Trust that God is going to use it for all kinds of good. Thanks for listening. I hope you'll want to learn more at brendamore.org. Blessings.